Okay, I'm not really calling the meeting to order because we don't have a quorum, but what we will do is we'll go to items that are on the agenda that does not require a vote. So I'm going to skip over roll call because we don't have a quorum, and I'll skip over approval of minutes. And if there's is the police here to give a, oh, I'm sorry. You got to identify yourself by name. I'm sorry.
I know. Scott Lee. I'm a captain with the Daytona Beach Police Department. So I'm covering for Captain Loomis.
No problem.
For a little while.
Yeah, we just didn't want to hold you up. That's why we figured.
It's quite all right. I'm okay. Just to cover the crime statistics, these just came out. So these are for up until from the beginning of the year to July 10th. The district itself is showing an increase from of 17% in crime. If you haven't heard before, we haven't talked to you guys specifically about that. A lot of that relates to the fact that the crime dropped so drastically last year during that period of time when everybody was inside and there was just not the same amount of people here when our tourist industry was just shut down basically last summer. So the numbers were very, very, very low last year. So when we say we're up 17%, it is an increase. But to give you a point of reference, our 3-year change is that we're actually down 24%. So when you stretch it over, and if you look at our 2-year change is even better. It's a negative 34%. So we expect that this will stay this way probably through the fall, maybe the end of the year, and then you'll start to see where the percentages level back out to be something more consistent and not so dramatic because the environment that we were in at the time. Our sticking points, because we all still have sticking points in the stats that we have to work on, is our aggravated assaults and batteries. Most of these, we are showing a dramatic increase in those currently. It's 133%. It's a difference of 75 last year versus 175 for this same period of time. We're working those. Quite honestly, most of those cases, or many of those cases, are solved by patrol at the time they happen. A lot of them happen behind closed doors in areas where there's just not a prevention mechanism where we can see it, stop it before it occurs kind of situation. The cases where we do have clusters of those occurring, for example, maybe around a bar, things like that, we're directing resources to address those issues and handle those issues as we identify those trends or those clusters. That's really the main issue that we're dealing with in District 2. Did you guys have any police concerns or questions for me, or any code enforcement concerns or questions? Since I'm here, I can answer those as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Do you have any idea how many of the bar owners
in the district that we're discussing maintain their own internal security and external security officers?
Okay, so if they have an extended hours permit, they're required by that extended hours permit by Chapter 10 to maintain a variety of things. One of those things is security. Some of them, not opposition, but instead of hiring security, they hire us or try to hire us as detail officers as well. So do I have a list of how many? I don't. I can tell you that if they have an extended hours permit, they're all required. Most of them have an internal security that they have. If you wanted to talk generally just about Seabreeze itself,
yeah,
I know 2 bars in that area hire us as details.
Okay.
All of them have their own internal security that they use, even the ones that hire us as a detail officer as well. Does that help with what you're asking?
Yeah, I think there was some discussion that some of the really serious events that happened on Seabreeze happened after hours, near or adjacent to bars that had neither internal or external, and the fight kept going until city police responded, which meant they probably didn't hire police to satisfy the terms of the license.
Yet most of what they may be referencing when the bar closes. So once the bar closes, most of that staff wraps up. They they leave, and those issues are still sometimes existing on the street. They become more of a law enforcement concern at that point. We're working on ways to collaborate and kind of deal with that issue with businesses. Businesses where we're having consistent problems, we address that directly with them by either communicate with them, address it if they're out of line with their extended hours permit, if they're not complying with that. And then in addition to that, there's also the option of looking at a police usage fee if there's a continuous reoccurrence of issues going on there, police response.
Terrific, thank you.
Any other questions? That was pretty easy.
Yeah,
I was trying
when
to
you
eat up some
mentioned
more
code
time.
enforcement, God, I know every one of my neighbors got hit hard, you know,
Yeah.
with all sorts of code violations. But I mean, that's I guess it's a long time coming. I
Yeah,
don't
that salt air is brutal, right?
know. Yeah.
Yeah, we did have a lot of attention, as I'm sure you guys know, on that Main Street area and that Ocean Avenue and the boardwalk area. So we were out there, and as you would think, as the population starts to come back out from COVID, there's more people down there visiting. There's more attention to those areas. So we have been down in there. We shifted a different inspector over to the area, gave them some priorities based on that direction that we were receiving and those concerns that people had. And we just identified the issues, and we've noticed people, and most of them are working with us to resolve those issues.
Yeah, they're all cosmetic and I mean stuff that needs to be done. You know, I mean,
Right.
Let me ask one more question. Yeah, at our last meeting, we had some residents from South Atlantic here who were very deeply concerned with noise, late noise that exceeded the allowable limit under the ordinance, as well as other noise factors from a couple of selected establishments, I believe, on A1A. I don't know if that has persisted, or we don't have anybody here yet from the South Atlantic.
For what I understand and what I've observed, that problem still persists. There was some changes made, some modifications made, but from what I hear from those residents, it still does persist. We are working on that issue, and I expect that we will have some method of addressing it in the best manner possible very shortly.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys.
By the way, Reed, just to go off subject for 1 second, I noticed there's a for sale sign on the Shell, the old Shell's restaurant. I thought that was going to be part of a bigger project or something. Is that been abandoned or?
I'm not aware of it being abandoned. I know that from time to time, the owner has wanted to explore whether or not there was the ability to sell some of his property. So this is, just I think one more effort to try to see if there's a greater value to sell it off as opposed to develop it themselves.
Okay. Good. All right. I guess we might as well go to redevelopment project updates.
Okay. I really can give you just one thing that I thought would be of interest to you, and that is that the Daytona Grand is open, is accepting reservations for people now. It used to be, I think last time we met, it was they let the staff go in there and train, that sort of thing, get ready. Now they actually have people coming to the hotel. So that's open. It's still a temporary certificate of occupancy at this time, and then it'll get permanent once they final everything that's out there. And it's pretty close. I mean, the things that we are worried about would be structure and roof and all of that, and those permits have all been issued and finalized. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
How about the restaurants?
In the restaurants, I couldn't tell you for sure each and every one of the restaurants has been approved. Okay. And I personally haven't been in there to look at that, so I don't.
Do they have a swimming pool and stuff? Or?
There's a swimming pool, and I believe that was one that was supposed to get approved, but I don't know if it got finalized.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now, are they, I know that they were going to have some kind of system of valet parking across the street. What are they doing?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer yet. Most of the construction around there now, although all the cones we saw up and down are mostly removed, but there's still some work that's out there, I think, with the pavers.
Because the way it looks like now, they have to go northbound, take a left on Seabreeze, and then come back around on Grandview and park in the structure. Is that the
Right. Well,
I think that's going to be it.
that may be it
Yeah.
for now, and
Well, that's going to take forever to valet park people.
Valet parking, I drove down there, and there was one of the concierges outside in front of the hotel, and I just pulled up as a citizen and welcomed them. And the valet parking charges $30,
Jeez.
and it is, as suggested, they turn back, head west to the corner, head north to the traffic light, and then make a left. And she seemed to think they had printed material that suggested that was going to be the routine, at least for the present. I know you can park your own car in the parking garage should you choose to if you're staying there. And they have a system worked out for that where when you do that, the concierge has some sort of validation thing. So the car is not towed and they know it's someone staying in the hotel. But it's very impressive, and I invite members of this board to go down there because it's been a long time coming, but it's very sleek, very modern, very contemporary, and I think very handsome and adds a certain interesting touch to to the hotels we can offer the public. I was impressed, and they went up into a couple of the rooms, and it's very, very nice.
All right. Is there anything else?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Well, let me go and move on to public comments. Neil? No?
Well, maybe our comments, maybe from the board too.
Well,
does that
there's no
follow
public comments, so we'll
that
go to the
follows
board
public?
comments now. I'll do it in the order of the
Yeah.
agenda. The board comments. Tony?
No comment. I'm good.
Teresa?
I'm good.
Well, before we get to Gary, I'll just mention I'll bring up the band show. It's been successful and everything. The only problem we're running into is somebody by the name of Brian. Well, I'll just say somebody's going up and buying a lot of our $4 tickets and reselling them for $30. You know, and it's it's allowed by Ticketmaster because it's called I guess it's a reseller of Ticketmaster tickets, so the authorized reseller they call them. So, and there's nothing we could do, but everybody's complaining. You said it was $4. Well, I mean, yeah, they are, but somebody's buying them up and selling them for $30. So, what we've done to try to combat that is we've put a 6-ticket limit to how many tickets somebody could purchase. For future concerts, we opened up 78 seats to sell the day of, which would be on Saturday morning at 12 noon. So we expanded it, and we're actually going to, we are allowed as the venue person to stop any Ticketmaster authorized resales 24 hours before the event. So he's going to get stuck with a lot of tickets if he, on the day of, because a lot of people are going to wait to the Saturday to get them at cost, and then he's just not going to be able to dump them on Saturday. So hopefully that'll cause him to try to lower his price and sell them before Saturday. That's all we could think of, and that's all we could do, But other than that, we had a really good crowd. We've been having very good crowds every Saturday night. It's just unfortunate some people pay $30 for their seats when they should be paying $4 for them. But it is what it is. And other than that, Gary?
I've got a few thoughts that I will hand in
Okay, noted. Meeting adjourned. No, I'm kidding.
to be an addendum to the minutes, because they have to do with some general interests of mine and some concerns. And I read our packet front to back, back to front, pretty completely, and have served, as you know, as chairman of economic development and on board of adjustment. So I've been around, and I can't emphasize enough how important the minutes of our meetings are. Not only are they the strictest requirement under sunshine, but they also, I think, establish a much clearer understanding of where we're going as a board if they're more complete. Now, I used to be the secretary of organizations, and I know how difficult it is to include everything. But for example, as an example, the minutes refer to some ideas members of the board had about projects that we might entertain in the future. Every single one of them that was discussed were an element in one of our existing plans that have been passed by a board, passed by the city commission, endorsed by the manager, and are in effect. So they weren't just random ideas that were pulled out of the air. They actually demonstrate a knowledge of some of the other areas that we could look into. Some of them are very low cost, and many of them could entertain cost sharing with the county under ECHO and other programs. The Land Trust is another one. And so I think whenever possible, if I make a suggestion and I mention the park, I'll try and give you the element 5.4.9 where we can find it in the plan. Now, I'm sure Teresa and I served on Main Street for many years, and we were involved in the creation of the Main Street plan. We also worked with South Atlantic people, and then the Z plan, which was the third plan, really was a product in great part of the Main Street redevelopment area board as well. And all of those elements all of those plans have very interesting elements like wayfaring or landscaping or historic signage in the historic districts. A lot of the things that residents in the area are interested in seeing that I think are significant, maybe not as important as redoing Peabody Auditorium, because that's in all of the plans and is a very important part, especially of the Z plan, if we're going to attract world-class tourists and also be able to provide entertainment of a world class to our residents. Peabody is it. Peabody it really needs attention. But signage or plaques, now the minutes reflect that I said we should buy bronze plaques, historic plaques. Well, that's not our job. That's the job of the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. And I was hoping maybe you had some feedback from them, Reed, because we were going to ask them whether or not that program could move forward if it had some support from this board. And since the historic signage is an element of our plan, it seems like a very logical place where we might cooperate with them, just to designate, for example. I can't tell you how many people who own businesses on Main Street don't know it's a historic district. It's just scary. And I don't think it could hurt. I think it could help tremendously if we did signage in the residential areas that said you're in a national or locally designated historic district. Those are all important parts of the plan. And I remember going through it, and on every one of these things, we had discussions on both redevelopment boards, and South Atlantic and Main Street met together several times. And the Z plan was all of us working together. So they've been discussed, and they've been voted on, and they've been endorsed by the commission, and it was a unanimous vote of the commission, as I remember. So that's why I think they might be appropriate. And I think some of the new members of the board are not aware that we have a blueprint. And those are the three plans. and they are green light, they're in effect. The question always has been whether or not we have the resources to do them and what the priorities might be. I came on the board at a time when Peabody was the major priority, and some of the sidewalks, there were some safety areas needed to be addressed. Mrs. Ruby introduced a whole series of complaints about the condition of Breakers Park and some of the monuments there and all that. And I felt that that was very much under our rubric as well, because we have elements in our plan that suggest we have to not only create them, but keep them in tip-top shape. And the element does address condition as well. So I'm hoping, and I will promise to try and, if I bring anything to the board for discussion, try and bring the background, the context for it. I'm just as guilty as anyone. I thought everyone on the board had read the 3 plans and was familiar with them, but I don't think that that's the case. And I think the more data, the more information all of us have on redevelopment on the beach side, I think the better decisions we make as a board. And so I'm going to do my best to, if we talk about Pinewood Cemetery is a good example. Pinewood is an individual element in the Main Street plan, and it's in the Z plan to help improve it. And the city has been a wonderful partner with Pinewood Cemetery in doing that. And I think you can go into the cemetery now and see what very modest investment can actually do to something to turn it completely around. It was an eyesore with a rusty chain link fence, and now it's really functions as a public park. So I'll hand these in, a copy to read, and if you feel they're appropriate, I think might be addendums to the next set of minutes.
By the way, I think I mentioned this to you, but in 1982, 81, 80, 79, in 1978, I was vice president of the Future Farmers of America, and we took it upon ourselves to restore the Pinehurst Cemetery, and we ended up getting state honors for being the first group to. At that point, all the grave sites were destroyed, and and grass was 3 foot tall, and
You also did an inventory of who was buried in there.
Right.
Very
So
helpful as well.
But obviously, I am not a farmer as we stand here today, but it was something that I did at Seabreeze Junior High School. All right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Gary. And, before I move on, there's something that says corrected minutes. Is this something that we've already passed that I could just go ahead and sign?
Well, you can't.
No. There's two minutes. One is a minute that we're supposed to approve of minutes for the May 12th, which is this one. I cannot approve it until we vote on this. This is a March 10th corrected minutes that's
Yes,
asking me to
and
sign.
you can sign
That one we've already voted on, so I could go ahead and sign that. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Obviously, we don't have any other members. We did board comments. We can't do roll call, and we can't do minutes, so I'm going to unofficially adjourn this meeting because I can't.
Ask if there's anything else any of us.
Well, I went through everybody.
No, that was a part of our agenda item. That was those.
That was
were our remarks.
board comments.
Yeah, but are there any other comments? I'd like to revisit, because I can't tell from the minutes whether keeping our meetings as they are scheduled passed at the last meeting. When the young lady came in who gave us the quorum at the last meeting, I don't believe she was asked whether or not she had a preference or not. Since, in fact, we have scheduled meetings, the question is whether or not we are not going to keep those scheduled meetings. And if we don't have a vote against that, then we keep our scheduled meetings. That's just the way the Sunshine Law works. We have a list of scheduled meetings.
Now, the rule is if anybody misses, 2 consecutive, excuse me?
3 meetings.
3.
3? Okay. Is there a rule about somebody appearing 30 minutes late into one? Does that constitute being present for a meeting, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Aren't I right, Reed, on the, we have them scheduled, and we can choose not to meet, but if a majority of the board doesn't vote to choose not to meet, then we meet. And the reason I was interested in that is because there are a lot of little projects that I think, almost working as a committee of the whole, that we could recommend to the city manager, who then takes them to the city commission through Mr. Berger as our liaison. But we're an advisory board of the city commission. We're not an advisory board of the staff, and we're not an advisory board of the manager. We're an advisory board of the
Yeah, but I
city
think
commission.
we're an advisory board, but we are supposed to, the way I see it, and Kyra, you tell me, items come before us, and those are the items that we advise to the commission, not, we don't bring up random things, to.
These aren't random things. These are parts of our redevelopment.
And if you'd like to take it up to the city commission directly, you have the ability to go to any meeting and speak as a citizen to bring that
That's
up.
not what, you're missing what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that at all.
Well, let me first get clarification. Am I correct, Kyra?
Kira, yes.
Kira.
So the general powers of the board are to adopt rules governing its proceedings, conduct regular public meetings, call special meetings, and create committees to carry out its powers and duties, and to carry out any other powers and duties as delegated by the city commission. But then there's a list of specific powers and duties. One is deciding applications for a development permit, those that are involving major site plans. I won't list each of the sections applied. Decide appeals, make recommendations on applications for a development plan. That's general zoning district map amendments, site-specific zoning district map amendments, historic overlay district map amendments, plan development, special use permits. And that's what this board is here for.
So items are supposed to come before this board that then we make recommendations to the commission.
You're either a final decision maker,
Final decision maker on
or
certain
recommend.
items, or we're, like conditional use items would be a final decision type of item that comes before
Right.
us. Okay.
And as far as the scheduling of the meetings, under HI, schedule each establishing the date, time, and location of regular meetings. Regular meetings may be canceled upon a determination that there are no applications requiring consideration of the board.
Okay, and as a board, we did meet, and we said that we would meet at least once every 2 months.
Correct.
If no items. So we will, and that was when we had quorum. So we will continue that trend into the future. But as of now, like I said, I'm going to informally adjourn this meeting because I can't formally begin this meeting because we don't have a quorum.
Can I ask our attorney a question? Which category does Peabody Auditorium fall under in that list of required things for us to do?
It doesn't.
Well, that's my point. It doesn't, and it's going to be the largest, $1.5 million new heating and air conditioning system suggests to me that there are more responsibilities that this board has, because the city commission expects us to say grace over that very important facility.
No, sir, that may have, I am relatively new to the city. I've been here for a little over 2 years, so I don't know the entire history of the board. But I believe with the implementation of the new land development code, some of the responsibilities of the boards were removed, and it was narrowed down to being strictly looking at applications for development. That the other responsibilities that may have once been a part of the board's responsibilities are no longer included.
Well, then we
And that was
shouldn't be doing this.
That was just a fast track, this board. But any item that you'd like to take up to the commission yourself, you have the ability to do that.
No, I think we need the city attorney to look at this. I don't think that's accurate. I hate to disagree with you. I think what happened is those items were added to the responsibilities of this board because the use of redevelopment funds are a very important part, none of those items have anything to do with neighborhood redevelopment. They don't have anything to do with historical, they don't have anything to do with wayfaring or signage. I would guess that members of the city commission do not think that this board only rules on those technical items for new development that you quoted. And I think I would like to request that we get some sort of a decision on that.
Okay. Well, that seems fair. You'll make a clarification for the next meeting, which will be in 2 months.
Yeah, and then how are we spending the money that we're spending if we're not authorized to spend it?
Only the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency, which is the same as the City Commission, they're the ones that make those decisions, the policies, the spending of the funds, et cetera.
Well, they, of course, on all things.
On all
in
things.
charter government, sure.
And so there is not an advisory board for them regarding the spending of money or on the matters of policy of those plans.
And we're no longer the Main Street Redevelopment Board. We're the Beachside. So we have combined both districts of the everything between Oak Ridge all the way to Silver Beach. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. And what I would say is that just so I'm clear on this to everybody, that
Right.
when you are talking about those redevelopment areas and policies and what you can and you can't do, it is really about the spending of the money and those plans that we have. The Beachside has Main Street and the South Atlantic plans. Those are still referred to by the matters of policy, and any part of that is been approved. You know, the E-zone plan regulations have not been established. There is an E-zone master plan.
Right.
And some of that has been incorporated into our Main Street plan. Those are documents that we will still refer to when we're looking at rezoning, those types of actions that will come before this board, and we'll make reference to that. So it's important to understand that in context to any action that this board might take officially in recommending to the City Commission. But it's very specific. And all of the things that we used to do pre-2015, that I know you were on the board and,
Yeah.
and others that used to be more wide open in terms of advising on any number of matters, that came to a conclusion in 2015. And I know it can be frustrating for some of the people who have been around on the boards and changed, but that's where we stand today. And we'll let the city attorney
Yeah, let's get if you don't mind, I think it would be very helpful to get a reading on whether or not, which areas we really should not move into. Of course, we could recommend to the CRA, to the City Commission, that they do wayfaring and signage, or that there's an improvement in the park, which is an individual element in one of our existing plans. Have any of those plans been rescinded? They've been amended, but they haven't been rescinded. Because the county wouldn't authorize us to levy the redevelopment money if we're not doing redevelopment in those areas.
I can provide you a list of what are the active plans.
Okay. Well, Reed, why don't you get together with Gary and discuss this? And in the meantime, I'm going to informally adjourn this meeting.